Well, good afternoon. Welcome to the show. We hope you had a happy Thanksgiving, and it looks like our producer ate a little extra turkey that caused us to come on a few minutes late. So let me introduce myself. I am Robert Press. Unfortunately, I hurried here because I got the link at the last minute, so I forgot my press card. And you'll have to take my word for it and watch our previous shows that I am a political reporter. And let me introduce my co-host, Anthony RIVIECCIO. Anthony, please introduce yourself.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you enjoyed a whole bunch of turkey. My name is Professor Anthony RIVIECCIO, and as some of our audience knows, I have 3 lives. My first life is I am an income tax and financial advisor, celebrating my 31st year in financial health. My second life is I am an adjunct professor of personal finance at both Herbert H. Lehman College and Monroe College. For any Monroe College students watching, yes, your thing is due next week. And my third and final life is that brings me here is I am the wonderful founder of a Northwest Bronx political organization called Northwest Bronx Democrats.
And Mr. RIVIECCIO is the former campaign manager of an assembly candidate in the 80th Assembly District. And those of you who are looking for the city council next year might want to give Mr. RIVIECCIO, or should say former campaign manager RIVIECCIO, a call for some help. And well, let's get on to the show, Anthony. You know, oil is down to $75 a barrel for oil. Yet gas prices haven't come down. Why is that?
Well, Robert, you want to talk about economics starting the show instead of politics?
Well, I mean, I'm looking at my gas station, and it's still a high price of gas.
So you want to talk about economics first as opposed to national politics?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so what's your question again?
About why hasn't gas prices come down, with oil prices coming down to $75 a barrel, and now Joe Biden, after using a lot of the American reserves, wants to buy back some oil, so that's going to raise the price.
Well, to answer your question, Robert, sadly, it's like many other economic indicators that take place in our world today. We call them lagging indicators. We will find out very shortly if gas prices are going to now come back down because oil prices have come down, which would therefore show it is a lagging indicator, or it won't come down, and then we'll know exactly how much corporate greed is taking place.
Well, you know, tomorrow is Small Business Day. And I'm wondering, though, how many small businesses have closed in the last 2 years? So are there enough small businesses out there to say it's Small Business Day? I mean, Amazon has taken such a market share, and then Walmart with their home deliveries and all these home deliveries. How are mom and pop stores able to compete nowadays?
You know, Robert, let me answer that question very broadly because, of course, yes, because of COVID and many other factors, we've lost a lot of small businesses around the United States. But everyone forgets that the stock market, for example, which represents big businesses, really only represent 10 to 20% of our business realm in the United States. 70% of that space is owned by small business owners, mom and pop business owners. Now, those businesses get defined even further based on maybe IRS classification, maybe if those companies are trying to get a loan from a bank or a grant from the government, then they have to go through different types of classification. But broadly speaking, 80% of our economy is driven by mom and pop stores.
Well, though, when we look at the bids, the major bids around the Bronx, Jerome Avenue, Broadway, 149th Street, and even White Plains Road, we're seeing more and more empty stores where mom and pop stores used to be. So is that a result of the pandemic? Is it a result of bad business, or is it a result of Amazon? Because Blue Bay, a landmark restaurant on Johnson Avenue, is now announced that it's closing. I mean,
You're right. And that's very sad. I heard
Mhm.
about that. To answer your question, I really don't think it's either of those things.
then why are the small mom and pop stores closing up?
Because our economy is in trouble, partially because of
Okay.
COVID, partially because of government actions, both Democrat and
Okay, so
Republican.
Anthony, let's go into Bidenomics then. Okay, so tell us about how our economy is doing then.
Our economy really hasn't changed much than I described it a week ago. We are pretty much not shooting the stars, but we're also not in a recession. So we're pretty much in a boat that's just moving very slowly, and it's afloat. This is the water, and we're afloat. Generally speaking, that is okay. You always want the economy to go faster. You always want the waves to go faster, and you want them to go faster in a progressive way with the economy. Now, certain parts of our economy are not functioning correctly as with the wave. We still are down year to date about 20% with the stock market. We have interest rates that are still going up, although in 2023 they might be coming down a little slightly, but obviously they've gone up very dramatically in the whole year of 2022. Those items will have, and then of course we have our wonderful indicator that we haven't had for 30 something years called inflation. You put all those things together, there are rocky roads ahead as we're riding this boat.
Okay, we had 4 years of a Republican president with a Democratic Congress and a Republican slash Democrat Senate. Now we're going into our second year or third year of a Democratic president who for 2 years had a Democratic Congress and a Democratic Senate, and things changed drastically. Now we're coming into what's going to be a Republican Congress because the Republicans have gained the majority in Congress, and you'll have still a Democratic Senate because it's right now 50 to 49 with one seat open in Georgia, where they're going to have a runoff on December 6th. But still, if it goes 50-50, the vice president, who is Democratic, Kamala Harris, will be the tie-breaking vote, so it'll still be a Democratic Senate. So how will this Republican Congress work with a Democratic president and Democratic Senate? Can you give us some advice on that?
Yeah, and you may not like it. The advice I have is you would be surprised how many amazing things have come out of a divided Congress. Yes, it is true. Divided Congress will not let front moving policies go forward. But what you will see is compromise where it is supposed to happen. And in some of those things, you would be very, very surprised. Over the decades, we have seen what some people would call democratic legislation driven by Republicans and vice versa. We have over the decades had just the opposite. So I'm always amazed in seeing our democracy, as it's called, or so again, some people will call it divided government, produce results. Those results will not be a lot. They will be far and few between, but I would not be surprised within those few items. There might be a nugget or two.
Okay. In our state, we have still a Democratic governor, Democratic Assembly, and Democratic State Senate, even though there were a few seats gained by Republicans. Do we see anything changing in the state?
If you're talking about the state assembly and the state senate, no,
That's what I
no.
think.
Here in the state of New York, we are Democrat. A little piece of that pie is progressive. But as I said the other day at a local community meeting, when asked about Republican gains here in New York City and New York State, I thought the Republican Party did very well. I thought, notwithstanding Lee Zeldin's numbers, which very much show again how New York City and state residents feel about some of the things that are happening in the state. I think in local races, as you've described, and in one that I've worked in, there are, again, many residents and many communities in New York State that are simply saying maybe the democratic experiments that have been taking place the last 5-10 years are not working.
Now, we hear people calling for Jay Jacobs to resign or be replaced. And one of the biggest promoters of that is a state senator who will soon be out of office. Every day she's just about tweeting, oh, we need to get rid of Jay Jacobs or something else. I guess she doesn't want us to forget her when she leaves office in December, on January 1st. That's State Senator Alessandra Biaggi I'm talking about. What is the future of Jay Jacobs? Because it seems like Governor Cuomo, pardon me.
That's easy, Bob.
Pardon me.
That's easy.
I made a mistake. Wait a minute, Anthony.
He got reappointed as the chair.
Wait a minute.
Ms. Biaggi, according to the will of the voters, is gone.
Wait a minute. You didn't hear my slip, did you? I said Governor Cuomo.
You asked me a question. I gave you an answer.
No. I said you didn't hear it, though. I said Governor Cuomo when I was supposed to say Governor Hochul. Governor Hochul is, supporting Jay Jacobs to stay in power, as well as many of the local county leaders. As far as our Bronx Democratic county leaders, well, they don't talk to me. Do they talk to you?
Occasionally.
And are they in favor of keeping Jay Jacobs, or they want to replace him?
My conversations with the Bronx Democratic Party don't relate so much to the leadership of the party. We have different type of strategic conversations.
Well, since we had the elections, there was a very fractured Bronx Democratic Party over this past election season. We saw that the party went after a longtime state senator, Gustavo Rivera. We saw some other things happen. There were gains, like you said, by Republicans. What is the future? Do we see some new power brokers coming here in the Bronx? Is State Senator Gustavo Rivera going to form a coalition, say, with the progressives like Alessandra Ocasio-Cortez, so they could have an East-West alliance? What is the Congressman Adriano Espaillat doing? We understand he used to be with Assemblyman Jose Rivera, and then he backed candidate Alvarez, who won the seat from Jose Rivera. Is Adriano Espaillat looking to take over the Bronx Democratic Party? We see that, and it appears that Councilman...
my God, Robert,
one more thing, Anthony.
But Robert, you got enough spin there to write a magazine.
Wait, I didn't finish yet. It appears that Councilman Raphael Salamanca now has started his campaign for borough president in 2025, coming up to the 80th Assembly District.
2045?
He's giving out, why would he be giving out turkeys up in the 80th Assembly District? That's not his area.
Robert, you're answering your own question. The reason why is because we are finding out we live in a divided Bronx. The Bronx Democratic Party in the last election has shifted their power base, but even with the shift, they do not control large, I shouldn't say large, they don't control segments of the Bronx. So do you have new power brokers? You know what? Yes and no. You have a combination of contenders and pretenders, like you always do, except this time now it's magnified 5-10 times more. Why? Because as you just indicated in your examples, now we have segments of the Bronx that are controlled by the party, but we also now have segments of the Bronx, let me call them anti-democrat, that basically control their own neighborhoods and they control their own streets.
Well, I wouldn't call them anti-democrat. They're still Democrats, Anthony. And let's take the 81st Assembly District as a perfect example. All right. Jeffrey Dinowitz, once the most powerful person on the West Bronx, is now just, trying to stay afloat in his little raft. His son is going to come up for re-election. in next year in the city council, and there should be at least one, if not two or three or four or five or 10 people challenging him. And the one of the challenges should be a woman that ran against him last time. You know who I mean? And she's now got her own political party.
Miss Abigail Martin, you're referring.
Abigail Martin is correct. And Jeffrey no longer has his district leaders. They are now under a different leadership. They're no longer, aligned to Jeffrey Dinowitz. I believe they're aligned to Miss Martin. Am I correct on that?
I would say that those people you mentioned formed a coalition together and created now a second Democratic club in Riverdale called the Unity Democratic Club. It won't be the first time you've had a club that was, let's call it anti-Jeffrey Dinowitz, anti-Ben Franklin, which of course is the existing club. But this one does have the capability of posing a threat to Jeffrey's reign. You have the two district leaders of the district that are now in that club. You now have many local activists that are now in that club. One of the more vocal organizations anti Jeffrey in the Riverdale section was the Northwest Bronx Indivisibles, which now many members of that organization are in that new club. I understand both clubs are fighting about membership, that if one joins one club, can they join the other club? There are actually fights now going on with both clubs about that. Make a long story short, yes, Jeffrey's kingdom is starting to fall down.
So, I mean, he no longer has his district leaders, and he lost a state committee person. And right. These three people, and even the state committee man who lost, all right, it's two district leaders and two state committee people you have, male and female. So there are four basically political positions in the district. And every district has them, and Jeffrey only has one left. And the four opposition, even the one who lost, helped Gustavo Rivera win his seat in Riverdale. All right. They were out there campaigning for Gustavo Rivera. That's why I bring Gustavo into the fray. Gustavo now has parts of the 78th. He has parts of the 80th, the 81st Assembly districts. So he could become a big power broker up there in the Northwest Bronx. No?
Yes and no. Yes and no. Does he have the capabilities? Yes. But as I indicated earlier, there are many areas that neither really have any power any longer. Take out the non-Riverdale areas of the 81st Assembly District, which can constitute up to 30% of the district, right? Woodlawn, Norwood, they weren't voting for Jeffrey's people even before the redistricting.
No, Jeffrey never won with more than 75%.
Right. So now you throw someone else into this mix because of redistricting. Well, you can call him a power broker. I would say he has that capability. What I would also say is another portion of that control are the people in the streets. The people in the streets of Woodlawn said no to Jeffrey. Why would they say yes to Gustavo? Gustavo's brand new. He's brand new in your area. When he goes to your area, to your community meetings, your members ask him for things. All I've heard him say is, "Oh, I'm new here."
Yeah.
So he says it's there. Why doesn't right? So who's really in control? It's not county. It's not Jeffrey. Right. So the people, the local organizations, are the ones in control at the moment.
Right. So I mean, what does that mean, though, for the election in the council? Are these council members reassured of getting reelected, or are they going to have problems if they're not with Bronx Democratic County?
Good question. I think this election will show that. And I think the reason why no one can make that determination yet is because people are still looking at the new redistricting line.
And I mean, it's 9-to-1 matching funds. So all you have to do is raise what is it? You have to get 75 contributors to give you what is it,
All
10,000?
9-to-1 matching funds means is that now you're going to have 9-to-1 consultants. Because everybody's going to want a piece of the action. And as let me forewarn all the candidates out there now, as well as incumbents, you have contenders and pretenders.
Yes, our friend Dan Paternock unfortunately learned that. If you remember, he spent what, $4,000 to rebrand himself, and that rebranding went where, Anthony?
It could have been more, I believe. It could have been.
Right.
I think I read somewhere 5 or 6.
Okay, but what happened to that rebranding?
You'd have to ask him. I couldn't tell you. I mean, personally speaking, I didn't see too much of a difference, but you'd have to ask him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It seemed that in after the first month of campaigning, he went back to his old ways. So, you're going to have matching funds to spend, but spend them wisely, because if you're going to give them to consultants who don't know the area, what's going to happen, Anthony?
Well, then you're going to have people like me.
No. If you go to outside consultants, what's going to happen? They don't know the area.
People like me, because what's going to happen is those people are going to lose, and then they're going to realize their mistake and give me a call.
Well, then it'll be too late, unfortunately.
No, it will just be for the next race.
Well, let's see. What else do we have to talk about locally?
You don't think these gadflies are going away, do you?
Oh, no.
You just said yourself, every race is going to have 3, 4, 5, 6 people.
Right. And then next year,
going?
Then the following year, there's going to be state matching funds. I believe it's 4-to-1.
Yes.
So, now you're giving consultants more money. So it's coming from
You're going to have your 21st century consultant.
21st century consultants.
That's right. All right. Now that you've heard it, Dion, feel free to steal the name.
Well, Dion Powell will be joining us with Mr. Roderick Compass, who will be speaking about the Fortune Society and what the Fortune Society did. This is our second half after our commercial break, which is going to be coming up in about 2 minutes. Like I said—
Where do you think, Robert, people get these names? How could a pro-poverty organization come up with a name like Fortune Society?
Wow.
Are they trying to imply something with
They're
that
making
name?
a fortune on it.
Yeah.
And also, we're going to have one of the executive members of Mothers of 1900 Seminole Avenue against it, speaking about what the organization is and what they're fighting at Jacoby Hospital. The plan is to put we really haven't gotten what it is from the Health and Hospitals Corporation. We're just told that they're going to place people from Rikers Island who are technically sick, but they'll be able to roam the neighborhood and take the buses and whatever. And I'm hearing more and more about this. We're learning more every time we have a meeting. We get some information right before the meeting or after the meeting, and it's amazing how they're just keeping it a secret from the community board. The community board has had hearings. People are mad. They've invested a lot of money and time in their homes. Their kids go to school there, and they don't want people from Rikers Island in their neighborhood. And I don't, what can I tell you? How many people want Rikers Island inmates or detainees? Now, the detainees are 86% of the population in Rikers Island, according to the Health and Hospitals Corporation. These are people who have been held on bail, who can't make bail, or have been held without bail because they have committed or have been accused of certain crimes. And
that's one, and that's, as we spoke off air, Robert, I know we're going to go to a commercial soon, but I really think that's one thing I would like to ask, not just our guests, but Mr. Compass, because I think there's a very big difference, and we have to find out the definition of what these people are. Are they detainees or are they convicted, which would make them a criminal? If they're a criminal, then of course they don't have any rights. And I think the public can demand what rights they have and don't have. If they are a detainee, then they have all the rights in the world. So can they roam around the area if they're a detainee? Well, they have rights. They have rights. So I really
All right.
believe part of this program, in my opinion, is based on how HHC and the powers that be are defining these people.
Okay,
Whether they're
Anthony.
a convict, which means they're being convicted, or if they're a detainee where the law says innocent until proven guilty.
Let's go to our commercial now and bring on these
In
people.
a world where the quality of information available to poorer communities is doctored, tainted, and sometimes regressive, where the words fake news have come to mean other people's opinions, it is vital to rely on news platform with journalists who have feet on the ground and can report the truth. New York Parrot, a New York-based national and global news outlet, is changing the narratives of media operations. We focus on the news that matters, like self-empowerment, entrepreneurship, finances, health, security, politics, and more. We strive to curb violence, racial and economic discrimination, and to promote peace and socio-economic development of multiculturally diverse world. As we give voice to the people, we also give your business a voice and make it heard. Get your products and services off the ground by advertising on our fast-growing platform. With so much of daily visits to New York Parrot, you can't afford to be invisible to prospective clients on the websites they trust the most. Our posts reach millions of people across the New York State and around the world. Advertising on our news site will unlock an audience of thousands of potential customers on your doorstep. New York Parrot is born to prosperously speak tomorrow for the voiceless.
All right, Anthony, are you going to be doing a Northwest Bronx segment, or do you want to go right into the Mothers Against 1900?
Now, why would you ask me that question, Robert?
Well,
I thought we discussed that last night.
Okay, then let's go into your segment.
So why would you ask me that question?
Okay,
See,
because I didn't know what you were talking about.
That I wish, some people wouldn't interlink me with this mess, Mr. Robert Press. We had this conversation last night. We went over the agenda last night, which the producer already yelled at you for getting it to him late. And we discussed that my segment would be number 3. So now you're
so now we're here then.
So now you're disrespecting your co-host on television by asking me this question.
The reason being, I don't know if
there is no reason being. We went over this last night. Did somebody die that you want to change my segment on
Go ahead. All right, Anthony, let's go.
No. I'll tell you what. I'm going to forego my segment because while you're talking to your guests, I'm going to go enjoy one of my illegal cigarettes. And then, ladies and gentlemen, this will be the last time I will be on this show because I cannot work with a disrespectful co-host. That's very disrespectful.
Good. I'll do the show by myself then.
Well, I wish you luck with that.
You want to do your segment or not? Because I don't know if we have our guest.
Yeah, you're in charge. You're in charge. I don't know why, but you're in charge.
Okay, Mr. Producer, I saw somebody coming on. Do we have anybody? If not, Anthony, we're going to have to watch Anthony smoke a cigarette.
And that's another thing.
All right. Well, I guess we're not up. Here we go. We're out in the street. This is, who do we have there? Renata?
Hi, everyone.
Okay. Tell us who you are, please.
Hi, yes, I'm Renata Raffi. I'm the one of the founders of the Mothers Against 1900 Seminole Avenue project.
Happy New Year, Renata.
Hi, Anthony.
Are you outside a mosque handing out?
Yes. Right now I'm outside a mosque handing out petitions for people to sign to try to stop the Rikers Island project.
And can you tell us a little bit about how Mothers Against 1900 Seminole started and what you've been doing?
Yes. So 1900 Mothers Against Seminole project started because I attended a meeting at Maestro's and realized that the community was going to shove down a Rikers Island jail that was going to be built on Jacoby property where prisoners and inmates would be housed there. And I was really upset because I have children and everything else like that. And I thought it's not an appropriate place to build a Rikers Island facility. Then when I went to my community, I saw that there wasn't a lot of information on it, and all this seemed to be new. So we created a group called Mothers Against 1900 Seminole to stop the project. And so far we have amounts the group of, we have almost 1.1K followers on Facebook right now. Our Facebook page is 1900 Seminole. That's where you could get all our latest information on about what's happening and what we're doing. But things I want to update you on is that we are handing out petitions for, and we're urging all residents to sign them, please. And it's to stop the project. We've also hired an attorney. These petitions will be turned over to the district attorney and also to help further our case. We are looking for at least 10,000 signatures. Hopefully today we're planning on getting 1,000. And in the months of December and January, we will be holding various fundraisers. Please check out our Facebook page to find out the latest information that's going on in our community. We do hold regular meetings to update the community as to what's going on. Right now, we're trying to maybe get a domestic violence shelter in there instead. The domestic violence shelter, we've met with developers on December 8th at the Morris Park Inn. The developers will be there to come meet and greet the community, so at least the community can have a say in it. They're thinking of building a domestic violence shelter over there where the community will have plenty of input as to how it's going to be operated, how long can residents stay there, and what is the plan to help them and to support them to reintegrate into society. The second structure will be a senior and daycare center, and then the third facility hopefully will be a park so that the residents of this area, Indian Village and Morris Park, can enjoy once again.
Thank you. Oh, that was a mouthful. Thank you very much on that. Now, the Facebook page is called what?
1900 Seminole Avenue.
Shut it down, or is
Yes,
it?
shut it down. If you just
Okay.
type in 1900 Seminole, Seminole spelled Seminole, you will be able to find it. But it's called 1900 Seminole, shut it down.
Now, I know that the petitions are coming along. We have, what, about 3,000 or 4,000 already?
Yes, hopefully today we are going to get a big number. So we're hoping to get at least 3,000 because we need to meet a mark of 10,000.
But you want to give in at least 25,000 to show the mayor
Yes.
that the community is definitely against this.
Correct. And we want to, I mean, there are a few people that are in favor of this project. And when I say a few, it's a handful of less than 10. And we do not want the majority to be, the minority to be heard. The majority must be heard.
Well, again, what that would be, I know there's one union leader who is for it because that's jobs for her union members.
Correct.
But if you make it a senior center or something else, they'll still have those jobs because
Right.
they're contracted with HHC for
Correct.
those jobs. So
Right.
whatever goes in there, they'll have their jobs no matter what.
Correct. Right. And they shouldn't be picking the side of having inmates there instead of having other things that are perfectly capable of being there. They're just building the property.
And
Robert.
Yes.
Hey, Anthony, how are you?
How are you, darling? I'm going to ask you a question.
Don't be
I'm going to
mad
ask
at
you a question in a
Robert.
moment. Robert, I want to first correct you that Local 79, which is a local you're referring to, has the contract with the organization. So if they have a different organization come in, there's no guarantee that Local 79 or any other union is going to make a contract.
They have the contract with HHC, Tony.
No, they don't. But Renata, I don't know if you heard the question that I was very curious about a few minutes ago. I am not 100% familiar with this system, as I'm sure you are and others are. Are these people that they're suggesting to come into the community to live in these homes, are they detainees or are they convicted convicts already?
They're going to be a mixture of both, and that's what the confusion is here, is that we're not sure if they're going to be detainees or convicted criminals or exactly what is moving in there. They constantly compare this project to Newcastle, but Newcastle is nothing like this because Newcastle's do not have any Riker Island Association. The only things or people that are at Newcastle are low-income housing, drug addicts who are in full recovery, and low-income homes, such as like maybe they could be like an EMT family over there. There are firefighters, people over there, and also police officers that live in that very building that they're claiming that Newcastle is supposed to model after. And they are currently, from my knowledge, they're saying that there's no Rikers Island inmates there. So this is a brand new project that they're putting together. So I think they themselves are confused.
And
Do you
Anthony,
believe, Renata?
Yes.
Do you believe, and I'm only asking this from a historical point of view. Do you believe that because this project, and I want to congratulate you and all of the people in the organization.
Thank you, Anthony.
Sort of putting this on the map and putting it to a halt. But do you believe that other hospitals, such as Montefiore, which I know is sort of new to your area, might try to copycat something similar as they have in other areas of the Bronx?
I think that they are trying to, and that's why it's so important to put a stop to this project. And if we put a stop to this project, this would send a clear message, not in our backyards.
How is it out there? You look cold.
Oh, I'm freezing, to be honest with you, but it's okay.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Anthony. Don't be mad at Bob. You want to go out for lunch? I'll take you out to lunch. Just don't be mad at Bob.
That's
It's
a date.
not
Give me
Bob's
a call.
fault. Okay.
all
You
right.
can't be mad at Bob anymore.
Okay, I won't be mad at Bob anymore.
Okay, thank you for coming on, Renata, and
Thank
go
you.
get some more signatures, please.
Yes,
As many as you
please.
can.
Yes, and
Okay.
please look out for them in the local businesses. They're coming to a local business close to you in Allerton and Morris Park and Tremont.
Okay.
Real quick, Renata.
Yes, Anthony.
Would you accept electronic petitions? You know, like I think there's many websites that you can create petitions and people can sign it online.
Yeah, but I think we're really looking right now for the hard signatures, and we
Gotcha.
don't mind out here doing the work and stuff, and if you have any ideas of places where we could set up a shop, or people could reach out to us where we could set up a shop, we're more than happy to do the work for you. Where there's a large gathering of people, we'd be more than happy just to set up a shop there to do it. Today we're at mosque.
Keep up the good work.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Anthony, I believe that we have Mr. Dion Powell with us, who is with Roderick Compass. So let's say goodbye to Renata and
Bye, guys.
and let her get back to it. And bring on Mr. Compass so he can tell us a little bit about the Fortune Society. Do we have Mr. Compass with us? Ah, there we are. Okay. Our friend Dion Powell has Mr. Compass, as you can see Dion on the side. Now, Mr. Compass, we understand that you had a problem with the Fortune Society, that is the provider or the builder of this so-called just home. Can you please tell us what happened to you?
Well, basically from the year 2015, I rented out my home to Fortune Society. I went 4 years with them. I didn't have any issues with the first tenant that I rented out to them. And about 4 years later, 2019, their tenant, they had an increase in family. So they had to move out that person. And they asked me to end the lease a little early. I think they had about 6 months left into the lease, if I remember correctly. I think it was about August 2019, and their lease agreement was ending in March of 2020. At that time, I couldn't end the lease early, and I told them you had to live up to the obligation or the agreement that we had. So from that's when everything went haywire. Their tenant moved out. They had some repairs that had to be fixed, and they gave me a hard time to start making those repairs. I have a document. Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning. How's it going, Anthony?
Not bad, sir. Quick question for you. I don't want to interrupt, but quick question. With that first tenant, the first one, Was they listed to you as a convict or as a detainee?
No, these were previously incarcerated people who are no
So
longer
you knew
incarcerated.
that going in.
I knew that going in,
Okay.
but I was never informed that it was a sex offender, because I probably would have made a different choice in regards to that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I have children, and also I had other tenants on the home who had a newborn baby at the time, who they also had issues with these tenants that was ongoing for years, and we weren't getting any type of help from Fortune Society.
So
I
you
have,
were, Ms. Broderick, if I could say, you were a small landlord then. You had several families in this building, correct?
yes, I have, you know,
It
two
was how
families.
many?
That family plus another family, so two families.
Okay, so it was a two-family that you were renting out. Okay.
Correct, and I was also
Okay.
living on the premises as well.
Okay, let's continue with, okay, Fortune Society then put in a new tenant, correct?
Correct. This
Okay.
tenant, you know, they had to upgrade. They needed a bigger
Mhm.
apartment. They had an addition to their family, and she moved out. And Fortune Society, like I said, they wanted to end the lease early. I told them that I couldn't end the lease early. You know, they would have to live up to the agreement. You know, I had too much. I couldn't afford to you know, to lose the apartment at that
Okay,
particular moment.
so they put in a new tenant and,
Well, before they put in a new tenant, there was a multiple different damages to the property that had to be addressed. And Fortune Society tried to throw all of the damages on me at first to, to make the repairs.
Mhm.
And as you can see, I have an email here. I don't know if you can see it clearly, that I sent to Fortune Society's management staff, Benjamin Metch. And I said, Benjamin Mitch, I'm having an issue with your housing team. I provided housing for your organization for 4 years. The tenant from your facility was instructed by your staff to move out August 10th. I did not receive payment for rent in accordance with the lease agreement I made with your staff, as well as damages that were done by your tenant. Please contact me at any time to resolve this issue. Your staff, Mr. Pascal and Brittany Metz, have made promises to me to repair damages and make rental payment, which they have yet to do. I would prefer to settle these issues rather than go through court. So that was sent to them August 26th of 2019.
Mhm.
And I also sent a similar email to someone by the name of Mr. Rivera, who's also from the management staff. And it took them a while for them to actually address the issues. And then finally, I made an agreement with somebody by the name of Timothy Sheldon. He's basically their management team on the side of the maintenance department. And we made an agreement that I would cover the bathtub that needs to be reglazed, as well um, as some other damages in the bathroom, and then they would actually take care of um, all the other damages as far as walls that needed to be patched and painting, the
Okay, so
area.
that was all done. What happened after that was all done? Did they send you another tenant?
They sent me another tenant, and those were the tenants from hell. Um, her name was Sylvia Cruz, and the boyfriend, his name was Jason Hermides. And from the first day these people moved in, it was nothing but chaos. I remember
Well,
the morning. Sorry.
let me ask you a question. You're saying it was a woman with a boyfriend.
Yes,
Was
sir.
that the agreement that you had with Fortune, or was it that just the woman would move in and she brought her boyfriend?
As far as I knew, the only thing was the woman was supposed to move in. It was a Cruz family, and she was actually the person who signed the lease agreement.
Oh,
And then I found out afterward that the boyfriend was moving in.
and did Fortune Society know about that?
Yes,
Okay,
definitely. From day one, I was actually introduced to him, but I wasn't introduced in the legal documents that was supposed to be the case.
okay. Just so
So
that's
so
clear.
now was the woman, the second person, was she classified as a detainee or as a convicted convict?
No, she was a convicted felon. All of the, as far as the agreement that I entered into with Fortune Society, I was supposed to be entering with people who were previously incarcerated who had a conviction, and they were just, ex-convicts.
Right. She was on parole then.
Basically, more than likely, she was probably on parole.
Mm-hmm.
And in Fortune Society's own court documents, I have here, from day one, from before they moved in, October 23rd, they moved in actually October 29th. Fortune Society has about over a dozen lists of different things that took place. For the first part, number one, these are the termination documents that they actually submitted to Queen's Court. And the first thing they have here was, in order to allow for the Cruz family to move into the apartment, certain repairs needed to be completed. Fortune asked the Cruz family not to go to the apartment while repairs were being done. In direct contravention of this request, Mr. Hamides, who is they have as husband, went to the apartment and observed the work that was going on and said that Fortune and the landlord has these Mexicans doing the job and they did not seem to know what they were doing. Mr. Hamides made this statement in the presence of the workers. So it's obvious from day one that even before these individuals moved in, Fortune Society was having or did not have any control over these individuals. And I have a series of different complaints they made. On November 7, 2019, during a furniture delivery to the apartment, the Cruz family expressed their dissatisfaction with the fact that they did not receive a couch in the delivery. They proceeded to verbally attack their caseworker, who was in their presence, to assure the delivery went as planned. Ms. Cruz stated that the sofa was promised to her during the initial interview. So they harassed their caseworker, they harassed other tenants on the home. And I remember the first day they were moving in. It was like 9 o'clock in the morning. I heard somebody walking around the yard, a female voice, and she was just swearing, using, obscene language. And I kind of figured it was the tenant, and I said, you know what? I'll just give them a little time to, to get themselves together before I went outside. And I went outside later that afternoon, and I saw the husband or the boyfriend, Jason Hermides, and I asked him what the issue was. And he said, oh no, my wife, she thought that you gave Fortune Society the wrong key to the apartment, so she was upset. So that's why she was walking around the yard cursing. I contacted Fortune Society's housing team, and they told me, they said, listen, she thought that we gave her the wrong key, and it was just a misunderstanding, and they were just upset in the morning. Later on that afternoon, I was cleaning up leaves. It was around, like I said, October 29th. I swept up, I cleaned the whole front yard, and I was cleaning out the front of the yard. I was cleaning to the side where the staircase was, and when I got to the front of the yard, I started to clean up some leaves. When I went back around to the side, I saw it looked like a box of cigarettes that somebody had just done smoke, and I saw Sylvia Cruz smoking on the balcony, on the staircase. And I said to her, I said, I don't mind the smoking, but just don't litter the yard. And she sweared at me right away. She said, F you, I can smoke whatever I want to smoke. This is my apartment now, and it's not in the lease agreement. And she went to the garbage pail that I had just thrown some leaves with a garbage bag into, and turned it over into the yard and started swearing. So,
all right, this is 2019. Bring us up to today. What's been going on?
So fast forward everything, I got falsely arrested. I was also assaulted with a kitchen knife by Fortune Society's clients, and I was accused of abusing a son that they claimed that I had, which all these allegations, the criminal court, the DA's office dismissed my case for the interest of justice. Child Protective Services did their investigation. They found that I don't have a son. I only have 2 daughters, and that was dismissed. And also, their clients that assaulted me with a kitchen knife Their case was dismissed in 6 months after they were arrested. Meanwhile, CEO Joanne Page was actually on the board of the DA's office. She and the DA's office in Queens are in close relation. So I don't know if that was the reason why their case was dismissed due to COVID. I actually have that paperwork here.
Sounds like something the New York State Attorney General should look at.
Exactly. Here's the paperwork. It says, this letter is intended to update you that the status of the case, and it has Cruz Silvia and her case number, in which you were victim witness. As you probably are aware, the COVID-19 pandemic has had a significant impact on the courts, and more specifically, the functioning of the criminal justice system. The cases in which you were a victim / witness was recently dismissed due to the reasons attributable to the pandemic. If you would like to discuss this matter, have any questions, or would you like any assistance, please contact Crimes Victim Advocate Program. So they dismissed their case due to COVID on the first court date. My case was actually pushed for about 2 years. Not until I went to actually, the article that you see printed out when you Google my name, Roderick Compass.
Right.
That's when actually the DA got wind of that, because that media outlet's investigative reporter contacted them, and I think they probably got a little nervous because they knew my case. I had 6 cameras on my house. I paid about $4,000 for these cameras. They were like, you know what, we can't hold him. We gotta just dismiss his case. And my case was finally dismissed. Meanwhile, I had a strong case against them. They stabbed me with a kitchen knife. They cut me right here on my left hand with a kitchen knife, and their case was dismissed due to COVID. It doesn't make any sense to me.
So
and they
what?
me the whole time a permanent order of protection away from my own home. All meanwhile, Fortune Society was on the board. Yes.
What now? Did this tenant do any damage to your apartment?
Oh, they did extensive amount of damages. Everything that I own until this day, from March of 2020 until this day, is still in raw sewage. They ran the other tenants out of the home. They had a newborn baby. They were constantly stamping on their heads, threatening them that they want to kill them and their newborn baby. All these reports were made to the police department. And for some reason, the police department was telling my other tenants that they couldn't do anything because of who these people were.
Who these people were? You mean because
whoever these subtenants were that Fortune Society had living in the home, they had some kind of control over NYPD.
Wow.
It's just magnificent to me that they were able to make false allegations. They were never arrested. They were never, questioned about that. Their case was dismissed in 6 months after they attacked me with a substantial amount of evidence due to COVID. Meanwhile, my case, that they didn't have a case in the first place, was allowed to continue for 2 years. They were just making allegations, threatening people. On one instance, I was forced by housing court to make repairs on the home, even though I had an order of protection. That was another thing that kept on continuing to happen. I was being
Mr.
forced
Compass.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Compass, I'm just curious about something, and if you could ask our partner Dion to stop dancing the Kool in the Gang for a moment. I want to ask you, based on your experience.
Try to get Dion. Look for Dion. And Dion. Yes, sir.
Based on your experiences.
Yes, sir.
With both of these tenants, and of course, I hope you solve all of your issues and repair problems as soon as possible. What would you suggest or recommend to Jacoby Hospital, knowing that they're entertaining into an agreement with an organization that you just had to experience?
Well, very much, first and foremost, Fortune Society is a corrupt organization that has control over, I think, even the mayor, even has control in the House of Representatives. Fortune Society does not want to do anything. They're unscrupulous. They don't want to do anything in the right and proper manner. I don't know why they would want to take the route of destroying a family in an attempt to probably punish me from not ending the lease early, or and also trying to acquire my property by sending, private developers to my home to try and buy my home. I wouldn't recommend. I recommend that Fortune Society be taken off any type of nonprofit funding or
Well,
anything to do with nonprofit. It is a corrupt organization. It's a criminal organization,
did they
and I think they
do you think they properly supervised your tenants?
not at all. I think they intentionally sent these tenants in a attempt to acquire my property and also punish me for not ending the lease early.
So,
That's
I mean,
all the evidence that I have here, all these pages here.
so
We're able to go through all of them.
let me ask you one final question because we're burning out of time. We only have a few minutes left. Do you think that Fortune Society will, or HHC and Fortune Society, that's the Health and Hospitals Corporation, will be sending people like they sent to you to Jacoby Hospital to get back at the community so they sell their houses to, say, Jacoby or Montefiore and get out of the community and turn it into whatever they want? You think that's what they're trying to do?
100% sure that's exactly what they're doing.
So
They're also trying to shut down Rikers Island because they want to tap into the correctional officers' benefits, their pensions. They want to see if they can privatize the jail in such a way. So this is just an attempt to privatize the jail system by saying they're helping people and putting them in housing to collect federal and state funding, right? And that's going to eliminate jobs or hiring new correctional officers. And all that funding will be able to be, squandered by Fortune Society and also paid off to, their political connections, because Fortune Society is not just a nonprofit organization. These are the people who produce Pee Wee Herman movies.
Let me just ask you, did Fortune Society say that these people had any medical problems to you?
They actually did not share any type of information more than that.
What I want to know real quick is you're suggesting they're controlled by politicians, and I heard you
suggesting that they control politicians
mention people. So who are these people you're referring to?
Well, I reached out to many different politicians. I reached out to my congresswoman.
No, I didn't ask you reached out to. You said they were controlled by politicians.
They control politicians.
Who are
they? Control.
It's Joanna Page. It's the executive board of Fortune Society. That's who it is.
Robert, I'm asking him, not you. He's allocated twice that they're controlled by politicians. Who are they?
No, he said they control politicians.
Robert!
I am suggesting, or I'm actually telling you directly, I'm not suggesting anything. By everything and all the evidence I have, they control politicians.
Give me one. Give me one.
Gregory Meeks. Gregory Meeks' office. Gregory Meeks' office in Queens, Jamaica, Queens. I went to his office for my wife to expedite the paperwork for her immigration process. And her immigration paperwork was actually delayed. And because of that, my wife was held at gunpoint and raped. She should have been in America. I was going through a lot of issues with Fortune Society already. Why was my paperwork delayed? When I contacted United States Citizenships Service, they told me that somebody purposely transferred your paperwork to a busier office. The only person who could have done that was Gregory Meeks' office. I contacted my councilwoman, Selvina Brooks Powers. Until this day, the eviction was actually completed in July of this year, which should have been completed years ago, because I have friends and family that use the same lawyer that Fortune Society used, and their case was actually commenced in less than a year. My case has been going on for almost 3 years now.
Do you know if any of the politicians that you just mentioned are getting campaign money from Fortune Society?
I don't know as far as, hard concrete, because anything that I tell you, I have the concrete evidence. So anything I don't have concrete evidence on, I won't speak on. I can't assure you. But I am sure that Fortune Society has a lot of power, I contacted numerous lawyers, politicians, and nobody wants to go up against this organization. So I would say from the mayor's office, they're pretty much, to me, the Democratic Party.
Okay, guys, we have less than a minute left. I just want to thank you for coming on.
I just wanted to give you a quick, up until this day, my eviction case was completed in July of 2020. And the marshal has not been able to execute a warrant. And the marshal office told me, they said they don't understand what's going on, but something is definitely wrong why we weren't able to commence your case. Then recently I got an email from Joanne Page, and she sent me the email with a letter from a judge. I don't know how she got the judge to write it up, but the judge said in his letter that the case was actually finished in July, but he's giving instructions that nothing can be done until November 7th of 2022. So I don't know why a judge would write that in October 24th, 3 months after my case was executed.
All right, we're going to have you back on the show in the future, Mr. Compass, when we get more information. And I'd like to invite back Renata or anyone else from 1900 Seminole to come on the show. But Anthony, we're going to have to say goodbye. We ran over a little bit. So we hope you enjoyed the show, and we hope you continue watching our show. And thank you for viewing.
Thank you, Robert, for having me.
America Open Market, AO Market, the best digital market for humanity, is a free multilingual borderless market open to international sellers with various languages included. With America Open Market, you may start selling in minutes after filling out the form. Comprehensive dashboard where you understand your sales, orders, and customers is available. You get paid directly